It's the time to take one more step on these stairs that we are climbing to expand our comprehension field in order to grab this great information about the stages in the drug development. Before I actually begin the details, let's quickly stroll through the different factors affecting the clinical trials which lead to the finale level of the drug designing. Welcome all to IS Pharmacology Difficult Podcast. I'm your host Dr. Radhika Vijay, MBBS MD Pharmacology, and this is the audio hub to get the best simplified basic tips, strategies, methods, and lots of ideas to learn better, understand better, and make your concepts crystal clear. If you really find and if there's a question hovering in your minds, is pharmacology difficult? Lend me your ears for a while and let in the magic of knowledge. Well, among the different factors that affect the clinical trials, the first one on our list is the knowledge of the ever-changing nature of different pathologies. It is so natural that every pathology takes weird and unknown shapes through its complete course. Only after the complete and detailed knowledge of all these variety and changing features of the disease amongst a large enough group of people or patients for satisfactory duration, that will only ultimately shape up the final course of the clinical trials. The second important factor, there are many different harmful factors that actually deeply and negatively affect the outcome of the trials. Some highly considerable examples include the effect of the pharmacokinetic profile due to long ailments, drugs, and daily food. In order to curb the dangerous effects, many measures can be employed like easy crossover designs, apt selection and assignment of subjects to the test groups, accurate laboratory tests and patient history, along with the acceptable optimum randomization tools. All these can serve great guides in this particular regard. Study of genetic variations along with trial guides, the individual responses to a certain drug, these can also help a lot. Though there is a lack of study owing to the legal strains, etc., but it's a well-established fact that the pharmacokinetic profile is well designed by gender, age, and pregnancy factors. Hence, its apt and perfect knowledge can minimize many important unknown and known risks. The third important factor is the different types of bias. While testing, the medical supervisors, they are actually doing their job well. The patients in the test group, they equally exhibit great response and a well expected up to the mark physiological and biochemical response is observed if tried for a placebo intervention. Now let me interrupt. A quick tip. What is a placebo? I know, you know. Let's revise. Any inert substance which promises to mimic a true medication, intervention, and results like physical results of the medication, etc. Even it can lead to some of the biochemical and physiochemical changes. It is termed as a placebo. The response to the placebo drug is highly differentiated from one person to another person. The bias can be prevented beforehand by blinding and randomization tools adopted during the study. Compliance of the patients with standard protocols, a process which is also known as adherence. I repeat, adherence is the proper compliance of the patients along with the standard protocols. It should be taken into consideration while the studies are ongoing. Next important step to consider is to go for Food and Drug Administration, that is FDA approval, especially for marketing purposes of the drug. Adequate evidence and safety and drug effectiveness should be well established. FDA performs drug supervision and regulation. And for your kind information, what do you mean by saying a safe drug? A safe drug means a drug which is free from all the serious side effects. Now is the right moment that we should enter the field of the clinical trials. Let's get an overview, a little pre-knowledge before we enter the main field. It's a step when the drug is preferably apt for the study in the humans. The clinical trials, they are systematic data generating study conducted in the humans in order to intensify the details of therapeutic and harmful drug effects. Ultimately, they target the safety and the efficacy of the drug. The first and foremost step is to claim and verify an investigational exemption for new drug. That is also known as investigational new drug application. That is capital IND application. It is properly filed with FDA. A good information source to know are the components of the IND, that is investigational new drug application. It generally consists of the details of the drug makeup and its source. Secondly, details of the manufacturer and the chemical makeup. Thirdly, it consists of the animal study details. Fourthly, it consists of the plan about the clinical trials. Next, it consists of the details of the physicians that are about to be involved in the clinical trials. And lastly, it consists of gathering details from the preclinical test. Adequate amount of data is applied while testing in the humans. Acute and subacute animal toxicity studies provide sufficient insights. Further, along with the clinical studies, chronic safety testing, especially the carcinogenicity testings, they are simultaneously carried out along with the trials. Informed consent, right to withdraw from the trials, a complete knowledge of all the risks and the benefits are a part and parcel of each and every stage and phase of the clinical trials. The supervising body, that is known as the Institutional Review Board, abbreviated as capital IRB, it is constituted at every level to monitor and supervise especially the ethics. And then officially the phases of the clinical trial, they are begun. Good clinical practices, an international conference on harmonization, that is abbreviated as capital ICH, along with the declaration of the Helsinki, these all are kept as important standards to comply with at every phase of the trial. The capital IND application or the preclinical new drug application, which is filed before the study, it is submitted to the various drug controlling institutions of different countries. Some few examples are, it is the Drug Controller General, Government of India, that is DCGI in India. It is the Committee on Safety of Medicine, that is capital CSM in UK. And we all know it's Food and Drug Administration, that is FDA in USA. The IND application also consists of the certification of the informed consent. Let's have some knowledge about the informed consent. It's a sort of a patient information sheet that is provided by the investigator. It can be given in physical sheet form. It can be conveyed verbally in the language that is to be understood by the patients or the test subjects. Prior administration is generally approved by the Institutional Ethics Committee, and any changes if made, they are again to be approved by the Institutional Ethics Committee. Say in case the subject is not able to view or listen to the informed consent, the patient is a disabled patient or a mentally ill person, then there should be a legally authorized acceptable representative, abbreviated as capital LAR, who can actually take the consent and sign the consent in place of the disabled subject. As I told you, there should be a right to autonomy. That is, the subject has a full right to accept or deny the participation in the particular test. And there is a right to withdrawal also. The subject can withdraw from the test. There should be a thorough, detailed patient information sheet or the informed consent. It generally consists of all the details of the test, the possible risks, the possible harms, the possible benefits, the duration of the test, all the details of the methodologies should be conveyed very well to the patient. A promise of confidentiality should be done to the patient. If there is some expected payment, as far as the trial are concerned, it should be done to the patient. If some harm occurs, then a promise of compensation and proper details about it should be conveyed to the patient. So that was an overview. Before we enter the main field of the clinical trials, which consist of different phases, this episode was necessary to know the basic details and the foundation elements of the clinical trials. It's the weekend and it's a special episode of the International Podcast Day which is going on. And to end today's episode, I have a beautiful melody, a very inspiring one, composition and song from Michael Bolton that would really add up to the mood and the vibes of the weekend. I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a hero's welcome would be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be. Like a shooting star, I can go the distance, I will find my way. If I can be strong, I know every mile will be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong. That's it. For all the updates and latest episodes of my podcast, please visit www.ispharmacologydifficult.com, where you can also sign up for a free monthly e-newsletter of mine. It actually contains a lot of updates about medical sciences, drug information updates, and my podcast updates also. You can follow me on different social media handles like Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn. They all are with the same name, IS Pharmacology Difficult. If you're listening for the first time, do subscribe and follow whatever platform you are consuming this episode. Stay tuned. Do rate and review on iTunes, Apple Podcast. Stay safe, stay happy, stay enlightened. Thank you.